I would encourage all of you to take a look at what happened in that committee room today. What we said is that if you are in a poor district, your per pupil help from the state of Ohio will be more. And if you come from a richer, wealthier district, you don't need as much help from the state. And that's what we said here, and that's true, and that's a fact. And we are dealing with an issue here of guarantees. We have over 400 of our districts on guarantees. But what's a guarantee? I'll give you one example. There is a school district in Cuyahoga County that lost 50% of its student population, yet it has money as though that never happened. In fact, their state aid, I'm told, is more than the operating budgets of some schools located in our state. So what we're trying to do is to make sure dollars follow students. We'd like the dollars to be in the classroom, and we're trying to do that by empowering our principals to understand what their budgets are, because we don't want to send money to a school district, for example, for a disabled child, and have it go to a school in that district where the disabled child doesn't learn. So we're trying to make sure the dollar follows the children. Over time, we'll have to deal with this. I don't know when, and I'm not quite sure how, but I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to not put the dollars that we have for education where the students are. Because education is supposed to be for boys and girls, okay? That's what it's supposed to be, and that's what we're driving to try to change. We also recognize the value of what Jim Rhodes called vocational education by having a 16% increase in this technical education. And our view is this: if a kid, a student, boy or girl, wants to go and do something in a technical way, let them go and do it. But have the rigor in those vocational schools, those technical schools, so that at some point in the future, if they want to go to the community college or the four-year school, they can do it. But let's recognize the value of vocational education, of technical education. It can be a tremendous thing, particularly in keeping our young students interested and preventing dropouts. Our ultimate goal, integrate business with academia. And we're pushing here, is really like almost pushing water up a hill. But if we can get forecasting out of companies and we know what it is, the jobs of the future, we can begin to train our young students based on their passions and the academic world that we have to make sure we train them for the jobs that exist rather than training them hypothetically. We're making great progress on this. Taxes. You know, as soon as I come in the door, it's taxes. Why are you taxing me? Here's the thing. When the sales tax was created in the 1930s, services were not even an issue. And by the way, when I was a kid, my father carried mail on his back. I could let you in on a little secret. We didn't have a lawyer, okay? My father never thought about having a lawyer. I have to let you in on another little secret. Poor people don't need a lot of architectural help, okay? They don't really look for architects. By broadening this tax, by broadening it, we're actually bringing greater fairness to the system. First of all, we've lowered the sales tax from 5.5% to 5%. And in the course of doing that, it gives us enough of a push here to be able to reduce the taxes on small business by 50%, up to $750,000. You make $200,000, you pay taxes on $100,000. You want to talk about a small business incentive program? I don't think there's a better one in the country. Now, I was down in Dayton, and there was a lady down there that runs a small business. I don't know if she's 30 or 40 employees. I said, what do you think about this plan? Is it going to help you with your taxes? She said, oh, the taxes are not as important as what I really have. And I said, what's that? She said, hope. It was the first time I can see that somebody cares about us. The lady came from the Mount Vernon Brewery, or whatever the heck it's called. What is the name of that thing? Mount Carmel Brewery. She said, finally the government's on our side. I believe that lowering the income taxes in the state for everybody, so that everybody doesn't have to get up and run to a state where they have no taxes. And I said earlier today, I heard there was a rumor that when the Pope leaves, he's going to settle in South Florida. They have no income tax there. The fact is, the income tax has been an impediment to our growth. And secondly, the ability to help the 50% of the job creators in this state, which are small businesses, will be a shot in the arm for Ohio. If we don't do it, if we stay where we are, it'll hurt us. How do I know this? because I talked to these CEOs, and we're up 122,000 jobs in Ohio, where before I came in we were down 400,000. We understand the incentives that businesses look at. And I know there's some here who are concerned about this or that. But at the end of the day, modernizing and broadening a base and recognizing where the economic activity is in the 21st century and helping our small businesses and lowering our income tax will be a shot in the economic arm for Ohio. What else do we have? What am I missing? Medicaid. Many of you are writing about this. You have to think about me as a CEO. I don't play a lot of politics. It should be obvious. If I was, I would not have put this budget in. Okay? I would not be willing to take on a lot of issues that people haven't been willing to take on for 25 or 30 years. It's not just me, it's my administration, people that have come up with a lot of good ideas. When I look at Medicaid expansion and I look at uninsured Ohioans, many of whom are working poor, $15,000 and less, where do they get their health care? Where do they get their primary care? You know where they get it? In an emergency room. Now, what do you think that costs all of us standing in here? And what do you think it means for the long-term overall health for the people that get their primary care in an emergency room? It doesn't work out very well. Now, we have an opportunity to bring back to our state, over the next 7 years, $13 billion of Ohio tax dollars to help us to solve a problem that we have in Ohio. I'm not a fan of Obamacare. I opted for, let them have their federal exchange. They're not going to dictate to us. We're going to maintain our primary regulatory environment here for insurance companies. I don't think the individual mandate is right, and I don't think changing the insurance bans are good for the state of Ohio. But I also know, with the fact that we now have the law of the land and we're going to have the woodworking effect, which is going to drive up our costs regardless of what we do, that being able to pull this $13 billion back into our state and being able to protect our rural hospitals. The time is going to come where the federal government is no longer going to pay for disproportionately pay for this uncompensated care. I don't know how they're going to survive. Many of them are reluctant to say much because they don't want to scare anybody. The fact of the matter is, you go and look at their numbers and you go look at their finances. This would be an enormous problem for them, and I don't want to see that rural health care, and I don't mean just rural where there's nobody living, but something out of our cities. It needs to be strong. We need to have strong systems there. They're a very important part of our communities. In addition to that, do you know how many people who have mental health issues either sleep under bridges or we find them in jail? We deinstitutionalized a lot of people in this state and across this country with the expectation that we would provide a safety net for them, one that fundamentally doesn't exist. That's not acceptable in a great state like Ohio. And in addition to that, our communities are deluged with drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And people are under great pressure to be able to serve that population. This will give local communities the ability to do that. So bringing our tax dollars home, getting people out of these emergency rooms for primary care, helping to create a safety net that we wanted for a very long time, and making sure that our rural or less urban medical facilities are going to do well is a good reason to expand the program. And in my opinion, it's the right thing to do, which is why the administration has proposed it. It's now in the hands of the legislature, and we'll see where it comes out.